Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera to our lecturer. So we are from group 4. Our team members are Lim Kah Chun 287427, me Fatin Zhahirah binti Zulkefli 285925, followed by Kelvin Wong 287493, and Koay Liang 287048. Okay, so we have 9 tables. As you can see here, the first one is about bill tables. So the first one is a bill ID, followed by bill amount, discount, and petrol ID and diesel ID. And then next, the second table is a customer table. The first one is customer ID, customer name, customer email, customer phone, and staff ID. Next, we have driver table. The attribute is a driver ID, driver name, and driver phone, driver age, license number, and register date. Fourth table is about order diesel table. The attribute is an order ID, fuel amount, delivery address, price, fuel station, diesel type, staff ID, customer ID, and the driver ID. Okay, then we have order petrol table. The attribute is a order ID, fuel amount, delivery address, price, fuel station, petrol type, staff ID, customer ID, and driver ID. Then we have payment table. The attribute is a payment ID, payment date, payment method, currency, customer ID, and bill ID. Okay, then we have staff table. The attribute for this table is a staff ID, staff name, staff phone, staff age, and staff email. And then we have staff driver table. The attribute is a staff ID, driver ID, delivery date, and delivery time. Last but not least, we have a vehicle table. The attribute is a vehicle ID, vehicle type, vehicle registration date, number plate, capacity, and driver ID.
Hello, madam. My name is Jian. My matching number is 287048. So for the first table is the table staff. After creating the table, and we need to insert all the query and the grid view, all the information. After insert all the information, and we will write this table of create the data of the staff. So all the information will be in not new. For the staff ID is the primary key. All the information is in not new and in the text as the data type. So for the staff ID is the primary key. And following by the and others is the staff name, staff phone, staff age, and staff email. For the second one is the table of the customer. Also, we need to insert all the query and the grid view, all the information inside. We write the statement of the DDL as the create table customer, and all the information also will be in not new. But for the customer ID, as all the information will be in not new, and the data type also in text. For the customer ID will be in the primary key, and for the staff ID is the foreign key that reference for the staff as the staff ID by the customer name, customer email, and customer phone. For the third one is the table driver. After we insert all the information of the query and the grid view, we will write the statement of create table of the driver. For all the information also will be in not new. Except for the register date, all the information in is text as the data type. For the register date, for the data type of the register date is the numeric, and the driver ID is the primary key, and others for the driver name, driver phone, driver age, and the license number. For the fourth one is the table of vehicles. We also need to insert all the query and the grid view. For the DDL part, we need to write the statement to create table of vehicles. For all the information except vehicles registration date is in text, and the vehicles registration date is in numeric. For the vehicle ID is the primary key, and the driver ID is the foreign key as the reference of driver in driver ID. And all the information will be in the not new. So we also need to write the vehicle's type, number plate, capacity, and driver ID. And for the last one is the staff driver. We need to insert all the query and the grid views so we can write the statement of the table staff driver. So for the staff ID and the staff driver is the primary key and the foreign key, and the data type is in text. And others ones for the delivery date and the delivery time is in numeric as the data type. So all this four information is in not new. So that's all my part. Thank you.
Okay, so next I will present the next table, which are order petrol and also order diesel. And if we look back to our ER diagram, so we have a superclass which are table order and also the subclass for each, which is petrol and diesel. And in this case, the relationship is mandatory or. So we just need to have two tables which are order petrol and also order diesel in our SQL. And we need to include all the entity in the table order into the table petrol and also the table diesel. So to create the table order petrol, we need to write this SQL statement. So it starts from create table, the command of SQL. So this is the table name, which is order petrol. And the entity, the first entity is order ID, and the data type is text, and the range is 10. And the order ID is set to not now, which means it cannot be empty, and is also set to the primary key for the table order petrol. So the second entity we have fill amount, and the data type is also text, and the range is within 10 and also 2 decimal points. So the third one we have delivery address, and the fourth one we have price. So for the price, the data type is set to numeric, so the range is within 5 and also 2 decimal points. And we have also fuel station, prototype, staff ID, customer ID, driver ID. And these all data are set to not now, which means it all cannot be empty. So the data cannot be empty when we want to insert the data. So for staff ID, customer ID, and driver ID, we need to set it as the foreign key in the table. So to set these three entity to foreign key, we need to have this SQL statement, which are foreign key, staff ID reference, staff. So the staff ID will reference from the table staff, and the foreign key customer ID will reference from the table customer, and also the driver ID will reference from the table driver. So it's almost same for the table order diesel and also the order petrol. So for order diesel, we will have the diesel type, and for the order petrol, we will have the petrol type. And the structure for the order petrol is like this. So we have order ID as our primary key, staff ID, customer ID, and the driver ID as the foreign key. And these all data are set to not now. And for diesel is the structure for order diesel is almost same. Order ID as primary key, staff ID, customer ID, and driver ID as foreign key. So to create the next table, which are we will have a next table which are table build. So to create this table, we will need to include this SQL statement. So we need to create table. The table name is table build, and we will have build ID as a primary key, and the data type is text, not more than 10, and it cannot be empty. We will have the build amount. The data type is numeric, and in the range within 10 and within 2 decimal point, and also discount. And we will have petrol ID and diesel ID as our foreign key. So the petrol ID is referenced from the table order petrol, and the diesel ID is referenced from the order diesel. But this two foreign key is set to now, which means it can be either empty or not empty. So the structure is like this. So the build ID is the primary key, and the petrol ID and diesel is foreign key. And this two ID is not set to not now. And the example data, as we can see, we can leave it blanks when we insert the data. So the petrol ID is empty, and also we can set the diesel ID as empty when we insert the data. So the last one, we will have to create a table which are payment. So to create a table payment, we will need to write this SQL statement. So the first one, we will need to write create table. The table name is payment. So the payment ID is set to our primary key and is cannot be empty. And next we will have payment date, payment method, currency, customer ID, bill ID. So for the customer ID, we need to set it to foreign key, which are customer ID reference from the table customer, and also bill ID also is a foreign key. So it's reference from the table bill. And the structure for the table payment is like this. So we have payment ID as primary key, customer ID and bill ID as foreign key. And it's all set to not now, which means it all cannot be empty. So that's all from us for the DDL parts. Thank you.
So now I'm going to present about to demo the physical design of our table in SQLite Studio, specifically in DML. So there are 4 types of DML that we are using, which is select, to view, and then insert, update, and delete. So first is to view the table. There are 2 options to view the table. First, you can double-click the table here, and then you can click the data, and then you will see the table. Or we can also use the SQL statement where you can write select all from customer, and then click run, and then the table was showing here. We can also only display about some attribute. Maybe only need to display about the customer ID and customer name. So after you click run, then you will show the customer ID and name. So moving to the next one, also select. Let's say for this table, we can see that the staff ID is duplicated to, which is the first one and the second one. So when we open SQL editor and we type select all from staff driver, where the customer ID and the staff ID equal to one room. So we will only show the table with included the staff ID with 10001. We can also use a specific one to maybe like we only need to show the first one. So we can write n driver ID equal to 301. So we only display the first one. So this is all about the select. Now we're moving to the insert. For example, for the customer table, we can see here there are 5 data in total. So now we need to add another new one. So open SQL editor, insert into customer values. The first one is the customer ID. We will put it as 61, and then the name, CD, and then the customer email, CD, Gmail, and then the customer phone. And then the staff ID that the staff served this customer. So let's say is this one. Okay, so we click play. So the data will insert into this table. Click refresh. You can see here. Let's say we need to update the data. We change the name from City to Ali, whatever Ali. So we can use SQL2 again. Update customer. Set the customer name equal to Ali, where customer ID equal to 6. Okay, click play. Okay, now we look again. Okay, you can see here the name already changed to Ali. So for the last one is to delete the entire data where the customer ID equal to 20006. So we can click open STID3014 again, then delete customer where customer ID equal to 6. Delete Wong, and then click play and refresh. You can see here the data already deleted. So that's all for me.